Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the World Wrestling Federation developed a little bit of an attitude. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
I'm sorry, guys, but I had a bit of a problem finding this week's episode. What day of the week again did this air on?
Tuesday, Raw Tuesday.
Okay.
Joe Giamateo.
How would you like to be body scissored by La Femme Nikita?
Or Crush?
My God.
Tough choice there.
Better than Robin Hood. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw at a time. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about Thursday, Raw Thursday. Thursday, Raw Thursday aired on February 13th, 1997, and was recorded at the Memorial Auditorium in Lowell, Massachusetts, and features Vince McMahon, Jim Ross, and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then. Let's get into it. Tonight, the World Wrestling Federation title will be declared vacant. What? Tonight, Shawn Michaels will forfeit the World Wrestling Federation Championship, and that news was delivered to us with a backing track of violins playing the world's saddest fucking song. This was a surprise to me. I try not to look ahead to these types of details. I only look ahead to match cards, and I was immediately wary of the old bait and switch. There had to be something going on here. Never. I know. It's just, I'm jaded, you know? It has nothing to do with the wrestling. And even more so concerned when it was announced that the winner of that four-way at the next In Your House will become the WWF champion. Thursday, Raw Thursday got its own entrance music here. It was a heavy metal track that sounded like it was composed on a 32-key Casio keyboard using sound samples and a voice repeating Thursday, Raw Thursday over and over again on top of it. And that's what's going to take us into our first match. But I want to get your guys' thoughts real quick. Joe first. You know, this is a hell of a thing to hit us with at the top of the hour. We're trying to pretend here that we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So if we're viewers back in 1997, what did you think when the first thing we're told is that Shawn Michaels is going to be forfeiting the title?
Well, it would almost sound like it's a swerve, maybe. Mm-hmm. Like, is it really going to happen? You know? Yeah, that's what I would think.
Yeah, you know, same here. Obviously, in now time, I knew what was happening, and I was aware that on Thursday, Raw Thursday was the episode that this happened. But if I put myself in a 97 self-shoes, I would think something's going on here. Something's fishy.
Yeah. Shawn is all of a sudden going to get his gumption back after some kind of verbal harassment or something and say, you know what, I'm not quitting.
Right.
That's immediately wary of the old bait and switch. All right, well, let's go into our first match of the night. Rocky Maivia defeats Hunter Hearst Helmsley by pinfall in 12 minutes and 57 seconds to win the WWF Intercontinental Championship. Boys, here comes the push. It was impossible for me to hear Vince McMahon on commentary here at the start of this. It seemed like they were having some kind of production issue. Not quite sure what that was, but it did improve over time. And I still love Helmsley coming out to Ode to Joy. It was just perfect here. Helmsley was hamming it up perfectly. It was also good to see Rocky in a more toned down outfit, a lot closer to where he would end up later. Still a little bit of color on there, and not quite the Brahma Bull just yet, but the darker navy blue or black or whatever that was that he was wearing looks good on him. I loved the trading of holds between these two at the start. Hammerlocks, drop toe holds, it all looked great. And I loved Rocky's drop kick on Hunter before putting Hunter out of the ring. It was worked perfectly, but you could also tell that it was a feather touch on Helmsley, which Helmsley sold as a devastating maneuver. That was great shit there. And my erection only got harder when the Honky Tonk Man came out to join commentary. Just kidding. Honky did nothing here but put himself over. And
Still love Mac Man.
It got really tedious with him on commentary there. I mean, he was only there for this match, but
shocker.
How dare you turn on your boy?
If you listen to him, every single thing that Vince prompts him with, he somehow finds a way to turn it around into putting himself over. It's actually kind of, it's really clever to listen to if it wasn't so far out and distracting from what's actually going on.
You loved it.
I did. The story in the ring had been very entertaining up to this point. When we got to Rocky being put in a sleeper hold, I was not turned off by the stalling, and I was even more enticed by the reverse sleeper into another reverse into the turnbuckle. And I thought it was great to clearly lip read Rocky saying, "Come on, motherfucker," there in the ring. The false finishes were great as the action built, and The Rock kicking out of the pile driver is a little questionable for me. Not sure why, but it made me pause. But then kicking out of the superplex looked great. I know that doesn't make sense, but hey man, whatever. But then the pedigree, which, as we all know, nobody kicks out of the pedigree, which still remains 100% true, as Hunter does not get to apply it. Rocky fakes exhaustion just long enough to trick Hunter into a small package roll-up to get the pin in the 3 count. That 3 count, by the way, was the world's longest fucking 3 count from the world's worst fucking referee, Earl Hebner. Hunter loses his shit in the ring while Doc Hendricks comes out of nowhere to shove a microphone in Rocky's face. Rocky gives a decent enough promo while Hunter marches up the entryway. Rocky bathes in the love of the crowd, and we have a new Intercontinental Champion. Guys, I loved this match. I thought it was a great example of what a wrestling match should be. There was very minimal sports entertainment in it. It was great to see Hunter working with somebody other than Mark fucking Marrow for once. Joe, what did you think of it?
Yeah, that was my first thought, having Hunter work against someone that was not Mark Marrow.
Did that knee finally blow out?
It's been hanging by a thread.
Knee Watch 2022 has officially come to a crescendo.
Yeah, Rocky, we've only seen, like a handful of matches from him, so it's pretty early here. Definitely a push for sure. But I guess it makes sense because Rocky Maivia is the WWF's greatest creation ever because he was their one of their first, if not the first, developmental guy. And we know the success that he's going to have. But right now, I mean, it does seem a little bit early. I mean, he still kind of looks a little green, I guess, or just still trying to find his comfort zone, I guess. But hey, what do I know? I mean, we're talking about a guy that's going to be the biggest fucking star to ever come out of this business. So I guess it makes sense. And it's nice to see, like I already said, I kind of agreed with you there earlier. It's nice to see Hunter Hearst Helmsley against someone that's not Mark Marrow. Maybe we'll get another match or two here. So yeah, it's not too bad. That interview with Doc Hendricks almost seemed like a I'm going to Disney World type of. Yeah. That was a little strange. We don't normally see that, but this was a good way to start the show. I think just the title change. You rarely see that on Raw back in the mid '90s.
Clean title change.
Very clean. Yeah. So that was nice to see.
Yeah, and right out of the gate, JR is really putting Rocky over. I mean, he spends a good amount of time putting Rocky over coming in here. And then as Hunter makes his way to the ring, I couldn't help but notice how worthless Mr. Hughes continues to be as he does not come down to the ring with him. And maybe could have helped him keep his title, but no, he doesn't.
I completely forgot about Mr. Hughes, honestly.
If I remember right, I feel like I heard somewhere that Mr. Hughes was having real health issues, like some kind of heart problems or something.
Oh.
I have heard that. I didn't know if it was here at this point.
Yeah.
But I do know at a fairly young age, he started to have a lot of health issues.
I kind of wonder if it's here, and maybe that's why, but who knows?
Yeah, it could be. But it was great to see these two square off for the first time against each other because these are two superstars that are going to help drive this country or company for the next few years. So it was really cool to see them going off. And I thought they had a really good match together. You know, there is no arguing Rocky is a bit green at times, but still a very solid wrestler, and putting him in the ring with Hunter was a stroke of genius, because Hunter is fantastic and he makes Rocky look good. He makes him look real good here. I'm sure he wasn't thrilled about having to give up the belt here, but he does his best to make Rocky look good, and he succeeds at that. During that sleeper hold, the crowd is chanting Rocky. And, you know, Joe, you said the crowd has already begun elsewhere to chant Rocky sucks. So I couldn't see anyone on the hard camera actually chanting Rocky, so I wondered if maybe that was piped in.
I thought the same thing, because during this match, I thought we heard both. Rocky sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something was pumped in for sure.
Yeah. But Rocky takes over, and it continues to look solid. And with that, I have to say, I'm not sure why the audience turns on Rocky like this, because I could only assume it's because they're pushing him just too hard and the audience just kind of rejects that, because I don't think his in-ring work merits that hatred. You know, he looks pretty good here, and I don't hate that he got the IC belt. I knew Rocky was going to win the IC belt at some point, but I was shocked that it was right here.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that, but I don't hate it. I thought this was a solid match, and as you both covered, a pretty good way to start off Raw with a title change like this. So I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I agree. I knew he was going to win it at some point. Shocked to see that it was this soon. It's strange, you know, because as you say, they're giving him this push eventually, they're giving it to him right now as we're watching, but eventually people are going to get sick of it. People are going to start doing the whole Rocky sucks thing. And it just feels like, so far at least, he's gotten more of a push than Diesel did, but not quite as much of a push at this stage in his career as Shawn Michaels was getting. And I mean, nobody ever really booed Diesel. People did end up booing Shawn. They'll do it here tonight for us, but...
Yeah, it just goes to show the different type of fan base now, as opposed to like the Hulk Hogan Real American time period, 10 years before this.
Yeah, and also, I'm not saying one has anything to do with the other, but it's just really interesting timing that Hunter loses the IC belt the same night that his clique friend vacates the title.
Yeah.
So, just weird. But we'll move on. There's so much more to talk about here, including Bret Hart, The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Vader. 4 men linked by bad blood. These were lines given to us by Doc Hendricks doing his best Todd Pettingzoo impersonation. It sucked. This was putting over the next In Your House this coming weekend. But let's move past that to talk about Sunny. Sunny coming out to the ring looking fantastic in a white dress to grab a microphone, and she is here to introduce the debut of the participants in our next match. The Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, defeat Aldo Montoya and Bob Holly by pinfall in 5 minutes and 44 seconds. By God. I loved seeing the Headbangers here. Even in their entrance, they look like they're having fun. And this was the perfect thing for 14-year-old me to see back in 1997. This was playing right to my demographic. But we had to cut to the Slam of the Week right after their entrance. This time it was brought to us by M&M's. Feels like the Slam of the Week is brought to us by something different, like every time. It looked like The Undertaker tombstoned Hunter Hearst Helmsley on a down escalator on Shotgun Saturday night. That was a pretty funny visual, watching his limp body ride the escalator down.
Good thing his hair didn't get caught in the...
A bloodbath ensues. Back in the ring, the Job Squad has arrived. By the time we get there, Bob Holly's still coming out to that disgusting race car video game music. I couldn't quite place it. Maybe one of you guys has a better idea, but I hear his music, and I want to say it sounds like the Cruisin' arcade game. You know what I'm talking about? It used to be at Westgate Cinema.
Yeah. It has the 90s Corvette on the front. Yeah.
Mosh was working really well with Bob Holly at the start of this, and I'm just guessing by the way Mosh was yelling that he might have been trained by Rip Rogers. I mean, he was really leaning into selling some of that. Bob Holly, on the other hand, looked like he was lead-assing a little bit once it was time for Mosh to take over. We got the news from commentary that Shawn Michaels is once again the victim here with a career-ending knee injury that was caused by everyone believing Shawn to be the most resilient superstar in the history of the WWF. Vince even admits some blame for the schedule he has put Shawn on. And I don't remember
At least
Vince.
he didn't blame us this time.
Yeah. Well, we're all mutually to blame this time. I don't think I remember Vince up to this point ever clearly admitting that he does actually own and run the place. Like, it's always other people saying it.
He stands there silent when they do it. Yeah.
But here, Vince admits that he makes the schedule. So who knows what's going to happen next with that craziness. Once again, worst referee ever, Earl Hebner. He ignores an illegal man in the ring to give the Headbangers the victory after a decent enough looking tag finisher on Aldo Montoya. Really nothing of note from the jobber team there to talk about. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic and lay the problems of this match on Bob Holly and Aldo Montoya's feet. It was good to see the Headbangers here on our screens finally, a fond memory there. Ryan, what did you think of the debut of Mosh and Thrasher here?
What a nostalgia blast seeing the Headbangers come out. I was pumped. Right down from the beginning of their introduction from Sonny, which I thought was pretty hilarious how crazy this crowd went for Sonny. There was a little kid in the front row who was doing the Wayne's World not worthy, we're not worthy hand motion. She introduces Mosh and Thrasher here, and I popped. Like you said, this is a tailor-made tag team for me. Mosh comes out and he has on a white zombie shirt with the iconic druggy clown from the Astro Creep 2000 album. And I don't just remember this shirt. My brother had it. That shows you how close to home this tag team hits with me. And for the most part, a pretty solid match.
Do you guys know what the other shirt was?
I tried to look, but I couldn't.
Did too.
I didn't see any writing. It was mostly just graphics, and I couldn't make it out. But I thought that, Aldo and Holly, I think they're probably a little bit discouraged with their current position maybe, and they don't have an incentive to put in the best match possible. But outside of a few bumps and bruises here and there, I thought the match ended fairly well. And the best part about this is that we're being introduced to a new actual tag team, which we desperately need. These aren't just two superstars being forced together to make up a tag team. This is an actual tag team, and they're a unique one. They're like something we haven't seen before. So I'm pretty pumped to see what the Headbangers are going to bring in the future. They didn't get to display a ton here, but I didn't think what they did show was terrible. I thought there's definitely stuff to work with here. To address Bob Holly and his Jobber of the Week status. Very, very close again, but again, Bob Holly didn't take the pin. Aldo was the one that took the pin, and I just don't feel right giving it to Bob Holly until he is the one doing the honors in the middle of the ring. So we still have to hold out for that.
Aldo earned it long ago.
Oh, long ago.
Well, like you said, this crowd exploded for Sunny when she came out, and so did I. I had a mess to clean up. Every time I see her, I just think like missed opportunities, that what they could have done so much more with her.
Yeah.
But she's also kind of crazy, so maybe that kind of held her back a little bit. But she's looking great here, and man, the crowd, I mean, they pop for her more than they do, or as much as they do for like Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels. I mean, they just go crazy. So it was good to see her again, and it was good to see her as like the ring announcer here for this, this new tag team, which has a great look. They don't come out with singlets or your average ring gear. So immediately I'm drawn to them. That was what stood out to me. There was definitely some sloppiness here. I mean, but that's to be expected, I guess, because they're new guys that haven't really worked with these guys very much. Their finisher is awesome. I don't know if there was a name for it, but I loved that finishing move. I was a little disappointed because Vince McMahon just wanted to talk about fucking Shawn Michaels the entire match and didn't even explain anything about this new tag team at all.
Well, he had to defend Shawn.
Yeah, so that was disappointing, but it's nice to see fresh faces in there for the tag team division.
Yeah, agreed. And agreed on the greenness there with them. I mean, they're just coming off of the fucking nuns gimmick, whatever that was. And, you know, there needs to be a transition time. Yeah.
Probably not necessarily green, but just no familiarity yet with some of these guys is what it looked like.
All right, well, next up, backstage view of Shawn Michaels talking to Gorilla Monsoon. After that, we're going to cut to commercial and come back to Vince and Gorilla in the ring, introducing in a very flat tone the most charismatic and resilient champion of all time, Shawn Michaels. But despite the start of it, Vince does whip himself up into an orgasm announcing Shawn's name. Shawn gets down there and mercifully gestures to cut his music. Vince goes right into being shocked at what Shawn Michaels gives to the World Wrestling Federation, you know, that thing that Vince was blaming himself for earlier. Shawn just giving and giving of himself. Shawn states it seems like we've done this before, and I couldn't agree more. But Shawn states that this is much more serious than last time, and I couldn't help but wonder how his knee is much more serious than that brain damage he got from Owen Hart. Rhetorical question for you guys. How many doctors have told Shawn Michaels that he may never wrestle again? I think we've got a running count of 3 so far. And then the crowd started a "We Want Sid" chant, and I fucking popped. Shawn does sound pretty emotional after that, though, saying that the fans enjoying themselves was always most important to him. Full credit to Shawn, because I believed that it did sound genuine when he was saying that. And here's where we get to the line. Shawn has lost his smile. So he's going to go home. I assume prop his feet up on Jose Lothario, and then break into tears as he says goodbye. Shawn takes a victory lap around ringside. A guy in a Blue World Order shirt gives Shawn a hug and flashes him the Too Sweet NWO sign. Vince, Jim, and Jerry talk about it afterwards. And when Jerry says tears in the crowd, Jim Ross makes a gesture without saying anything that means, yeah, I guess so. So, obviously, you know, as I mentioned earlier, we try to stay in a contemporary mindset while watching this, which in contemporary terms, what's going on here is that Shawn is injured and may not come back. There is a certain amount of truth to that. Shawn saw a doctor about his knee. The doctor was not a sports doctor and told Shawn that he couldn't wrestle again.
Nor was he a medical doctor, but...
Yeah. But once Shawn went to an actual sports doctor, he was good to go after that. But what we all know now is that Shawn went to a non-sports doctor to get that result because he really just didn't want to job out to Bret Hart. This is arguably one of the most important moments in the WWF in the 90s. Joe, please give me your thoughts on this segment.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big piece of that story between Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Vince McMahon, the screw job, all of that stuff. I mean, this comes off as, to me, very fake because it is fake, basically. I mean, he's going to be out for like a month. James Andrews is going to tell him, you just need some physical therapy, then you'll be fine, you know? Pretty good acting job, I guess. I mean, he should maybe audition for some soap operas or Lonesome Dove or something while he's off those 4 weeks. I thought, you know, he did a nice job of fake crying there. But this is just very strange. This is, again, probably Shawn Michaels, you know, going into business for himself, as they say, just because he didn't want to lose the belt to Bret Hart. I mean, that's just really odd. Vince is overprotective of him, as we've learned over the years, and part of me understands why. I mean, you think about it all, like Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker were the two that really stayed loyal to Vince during this whole Monday Night Wars. So I get it, but like, do we have to watch it play out on screen? I think they could have maybe done something different. I'm just tired of all this, like... I guess this perfectly wraps up the terrible run of Shawn Michaels' babyface title reign for me. Yeah. Like, we got that fucking sad sack song, like a year ago. We keep getting all this, like, sadness. It's like, it's just pathetic to me.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. You know, what we know about this and the fact that it's just Shawn Michaels refusing to lose to Bret, it makes you lose a lot of respect for what Shawn Michaels can do in the ring. Because what we know now is the plan going forward was Bret was going to win it only to re-lose it to Shawn Michaels. And that wasn't good enough for Shawn. He had to never lose to Bret. And to be that selfish, to do this, to fake an injury, get some bullshit doctor to lie for you, all so you could give up the title and not lose to Bret Hart. It's sad and pathetic. To put I mean, it is. Well, how else do you put it? If we're contemporary fans at the time, obviously we know none of that. And I think most probably would just react the way these fans did and boo, because it didn't come off as genuine. He has a knee injury, yet there's no brace on his knee. There's no limp except
where did he injure it? Like, no one even said like where he injured it.
We don't see where he injured it. He doesn't appear to be injured at all, let alone a possible career-ending injury here. It just doesn't feel genuine. I mean, some of the words that he says, you know, he does a good job of acting. They come off as genuine, but everything about this just smells funny. That could just be the fact that we know where things go and it's tainting how we see this come off. But I think the fans' reaction to it in the arena there kind of validates our thought. Yeah, this is bullshit. We want Sid.
Yeah.
Pretty shocking. We get the infamous "I have lost my smile" line, which furthers the, well, so do you have an injury or are you quitting?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
Yeah.
The "I lost my smile" line is the most famous, but to me, I got the biggest kick out of the very end, where he just says, I'm going to go home now. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that?
I'm just going to go home now.
Bye.
Very, very pivotal point in the wrestling world and what is going to happen moving forward. But as a fan, I would have felt cheated if I was in the arena.
I'm going to differ just a little bit with you guys on this, because keep in mind that Shawn Michaels at this time has zero self-awareness at all. So I kind of believe that the tears are real because he genuinely believes that other people are forcing him to quit by making him potentially job out to Bret Hart. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, he is crying for real. He does feel upset because all he wants to do is entertain people, but nobody will let him do that because they're always forcing him to do things that he won't do.
Oh, and
you know what I mean?
And that's why I threw in my line where not necessarily his acting. I thought he was doing a good job of acting genuine, but the whole part about the injury, just nothing about that came off as real.
Yeah.
You know, and so to me, that's the two different things here.
Yeah.
The other interesting piece here is, even though it's been driven down our throats a little too much, this could not have happened at a better time for WWF, because they've got this four corners shit going on. So even though he did this out of nowhere, they sort of have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
Like they have this final four thing where they can sort of, you know, fix the problem here.
Yeah, already like a built-in tournament for the belt.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, we will continue to monitor the results of that going through this episode. But first,
we'll probably not hear about the rest of the night, right? About Shawn Michaels.
I wouldn't expect it, no.
Yeah.
Now that he's quit, there's no reason to dwell on it. I mean,
it's gone.
It's not like there's been a 4-year hard-on for the guy.
He went home, okay?
Let's move along to our next match. The Undertaker defeats Savio Vega with the Nation of Domination by pinfall in approximately 8 minutes and 49 seconds. The time is approximate as we went to commercial and missed the opening bell here. PG-13 didn't even try to rap. They just yelled Savio Vega and then yelled to cut the microphones.
There's certainly no Sonny as ring announcers.
No. Speaking of things that get us popping hard, The Undertaker. Huge crowd pop for him. That was good to hear. And once things got going, I loved how Savio sold the choke in the corner. That was hilarious, just the face that he made and the that he was doing, like he was trained by Rip Rogers too. But the work here all looked good, which is to be expected with both of these competitors. Savio's spinning heel kicks were exceptionally good, getting the elevation up to Undertaker's chin from the much shorter Savio. But given everything else going on, this match was an afterthought for commentary. Oh, man. We got some great shots of the venue in this match. That's something to be noted. It looked like a great place to catch some wrestling. And I loved how The Undertaker sold the headbutt from Savio. There did end up being a couple of missteps, most notably The Undertaker almost breaking Savio's back on some mistimed rope work. But that moved pretty quickly to the chokeslam and the victory for Undertaker. PG-13 and the still as yet unnamed D'Lo Brown rush the ring after that, which also draws out Farouk and Crush. That draws out Ahmed Johnson, who attempts to clear the ring but ends up at the bottom of a dog pile. Undertaker got up in time to do a double chokeslam on both members of PG-13, which was fantastic to see. And that was kind of it. Things fizzle out from there. This felt like a bit of a throwaway match. The work was good, but it almost seemed like what we were really working towards was a reason for Ahmed to run in. Joe, what did you think of it?
Well, when Nation of Domination came out to the ring, I love seeing, there's like a few people in the crowd that put up the Nation fist, and I love seeing that. I think that's pretty badass. And thankfully this won't last, but the Nation of Domination right now is basically just a bunch of jobbers at this point. I mean, you've got Savio and Farouk in there, but the rest of it's right just, yeah.
No.
But, I mean, I guess the purpose of forming a stable like this is to hopes of getting one star out of it. So at least they've got Farouk going for them and can make some changes later, which will be nice to see. This match itself, Undertaker and Savio Vega, I thought it was pretty good, even though there's no story supporting this at all. But, you know, the crowd was excited to see the Undertaker. This crowd, you said this is Lowell, Massachusetts, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so if we got any listeners there, that is a good wrestling crowd tonight. They are definitely into the show big time. Yeah, the match was good. Excellent choke slam. Savio Vega got up there for a bigger dude. Yeah. He got up there pretty good. So that was nice. You know, the one thing I was worried about, because obviously it was leading to Ahmed Johnson coming out to save The Undertaker from the Nation, but my biggest fear was here comes that 24-foot long 2x4. But he didn't have it tonight. Thank God he didn't have it. So it was much better without it. And Ahmed Johnson comes out and he clears the ring right away. The guy's moving 100 miles an hour. Like, he just needs to kind of slow down a little bit. Like, but I don't know. What do I know, I guess, because the crowd exploded and loves it. But like, every time he comes out, it's just like, slow down a little bit, like move like half the speed. It looked even more obvious here because he was working with The Undertaker, who moves at like a quarter of the speed. So it just really stood out to me. I don't know. But like I said, I thought this match was really good, even though there's just nothing supporting it.
Yeah, and that's kind of my feeling on it too. A very strong middle episode match. It just, no story. These guys are not really related in any way as to why we would have this match, but they're both good, solid wrestlers, and they put on a good show for the fans here. Right out of the gate, there's a great spot where The Undertaker effortlessly picks up Savio with both hands, tosses him into the corner, and starts with his MMA punches to the midsection. It was really great looking. My only complaint, if I had to have a complaint about this match, it would be that Savio takes over, and he takes over for a good part of this match, and it's just a little hard to believe a mid-carder like Savio takes over for this long against Taker, especially when Taker towers over Savio in the ring. I don't know if that was believable, but the work that these two do together was worth it. I also liked, and this shows the awareness of these two wrestlers. In the middle of Savio's rally, it clearly wasn't time for Savio to quit yet, but the crowd they wanted the Undertaker, so they started chanting "Rest in peace." So immediately, Savio knows, well, I got to let the Undertaker rally for a bit. So he allows the Undertaker take over, land a few moves before he takes back over to finish his little set of moves he had there. So I just thought that was good awareness by both guys there. And I think that highlights just how professional both of these wrestlers are. The ending got a little bit fucky with everyone coming in, but at least we allowed Taker to get the clean win. They didn't come in and interrupt it before he got a clean, great-looking choke slam on Savio, and then a awesome-looking double choke slam on the worthless fucks PG-13. That was good to see, and props for someone finally taking that 2x4 away from Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't have too much to add to that, because it's, like I said, it felt like a throwaway match. It was good match to watch.
Just forgettable because nothing tied you to it.
Yeah, so many other matches we've been seeing lately, just zero build up, just two people thrown in there, and
it feels like another house show match. This is a show, a good house show match.
Yeah. Well, let's keep it moving here. The show kept moving because it's going to go straight into our next match. Stone Cold Steve Austin defeats Psycho Sid by disqualification in 3 minutes and 43 seconds. The crowd popped almost as hard for Austin as they did for The Undertaker. And there were a lot of Austin 316 signs in the audience. That was good to see. And we had to go backstage to Doc Hendricks and Gorilla Monsoon. Doc wanted to know why that Final Four match is now also a championship match. Gorilla said that it was the most fair way to do it, given the circumstances. And then Sid will get a shot at the champion the day after In Your House on Monday Night Raw. The work starts fast here in the ring, and it starts hard, and the crowd starts an Austin chant that is louder than anything we've heard so far tonight. But Joe, as you've said before, crowds just love to yell shit. The noise and energy just kind of helped flow with this match, and it continued when Sid mounted a comeback. Sid's haymakers and the way Austin sold them looked good. But then, out of nowhere, Bret Hart attacks Steve Austin. That didn't last long. As Austin dips out, Bret goes after Sid then instead. Multiple officials end up pulling them apart, including Dave and Earl Hebner. So naturally, the pull apart fails multiple times over a span of time. And that's it. This was a short segment that just managed to come in and hit us real quick before running up the entryway. Ryan, even though it was short, it did end up hitting us with a lot of energy and star power. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Very short. We don't spend much time with this match, but the action between these two in the brief time we spent with them was excellent. If this went longer, possibly put Stone Cold in there with, put Sid in there with Vader and someone that Stone Cold could get a good match out of with. Because, I thought this looked pretty entertaining. And if it didn't end as quick as it did, I think it could have had great potential. It's tough for me to say exactly how I feel about this because I do love the Austin Bret Hart angle, but I was also really getting into this match. So I'm a little bit conflicted about how it ended. I just wish I could have seen a little bit more because I thought things were going in the right direction here.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this at all, really. It was just so short. I just have noted here that Bret Hart comes out to attack Austin, and Sid is not happy about it. So not much to report here, but I guess maybe this is going to play a little part later in the show, so, to help build up that Final Four match. So, again, it's just the Final Four is the focus for now. It's even more the focus now after tonight, so it makes sense that they would do this.
Yeah, and speaking of building that Final Four, let's go backstage with Paul Bearer and Vader. Let's not forget that Vader is part of that Final Four. Paul Bearer was polishing the urn there as if it has some kind of significance to Vader. Vader then cuts a really terrible promo, talking more in this segment than in the total of the entire time Vader has been here. This is the most he's said. It didn't make sense at all. You think Sid's promos don't make sense? This was just terrible.
I felt that like secondhand embarrassment out of like every time he flubbed on a word or I was just like, oh man.
Well,
I feel it right here.
It all built to just stunned silence for a moment from Vince. Vince didn't know how to respond to it at all. But then Jerry Lawler came in and saved it by prompting Vader's catchphrases so they could close out of it. We broke to commercial from there and then just came back to a replay of Shawn Michaels losing his smile. But I wanted to ask, just briefly, guys, Ryan first, what did you think of this amazing Vader promo?
I mean, I think I covered it, but I guess if Vader is not screaming and huffing and puffing, we need to keep him the fuck off the mic.
And the biggest mistake I think that he made was that he referred to the show as Monday Night Raw. Did no one tell him that it's Thursday Raw Thursday?
My God. It's just, his voice didn't sound right. Like it sounded higher than it should be or something. I don't know.
Like it didn't belong on a monster.
Yeah. Well, that takes us into our next match. Farouk and Crush, with the Nation of Domination, defeat Owen Hart and the British Bulldog by count out in 9 minutes and 26 seconds, with Owen and the Bulldog retaining the tag team championships as a result. First question, whose side is Clarence Mason on in this?
That was the first thing I noted.
Yeah, he was out there.
I've been saying it's stupid to have him with the Nation and anyone else.
This really hammers it home.
Yeah.
Owen Hart looked great at the start of this, made Crush look as good as Crush could look. Farouk and the Bulldog looked okay together, but we missed most of that in a commercial break. We got a split screen of Bret Hart really trying hard to put Shawn Michaels over.
This might have been faker than the Shawn Michaels speech.
Talk about ingenuine.
It didn't
looked like he was
really
gonna
come
throw
off
up.
that well. It did. He was forcing every word.
I really wish him the best.
Bret does believe that Shawn will be back, though. Bret then tries very hard to put over Vader, believably, too, stating that wrestling Vader is like wrestling a cement truck, which I thought that was a great line.
I love that line. It's almost a backhanded comment.
Like, he can't wrestle at all. He just gets in the way.
He's just a big, heavy fucking truck filled with cement.
There at ringside, Vince gave us the great line of, speaking of body scissors, how would you like to be body scissored by La Femme Nikita?
I love that Vince said it, too. It's always Lawler saying the pervy stuff.
Right.
I loved the Bulldog selling the bear hug from Farouk. It was very believable. And then the belly-to-belly suplex reversing out of it, that looked good, too. The Bulldog's hot tag to Owen looked great, with the Bulldog giving Crush a really nice-looking kick to the face in there. The referee couldn't control any of the action here, and it really made me wonder if maybe WWF referees are this bad with tag teams because they never get any practice with them. There's not enough tag teams to have a lot of practice. Maybe they're just rusty when it comes to dealing with 4 people instead of 2. I don't know. Then, surprisingly, Owen Hart, as the legal man, is put out with an injured knee again, drawing the count out, while the Nation demolishes the Bulldog in the ring. And that's it. That's it for this one. This kind of fell flat for me. Joe, I think you put it best when you talked last week about the ongoing taint tickler that is the Bulldog and Owen, as well as the habit of throwing 2 singles together to make a tag team, and then the issues that sometimes has. But overall, Joe, what did you think of this match?
Yeah, I agree. It fell pretty flat. I guess it's because this match just had no real heat behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both heel teams, so who really cares who wins? The crowd was pretty quiet for this one compared to the rest of the night. Crush is... he's horrible, but he's a little more tolerable here because he's in a tag team. So, I mean, it works a little bit better. But yeah, this match just had no heat at all. And then we have another guy with a knee problem. He should go see Shawn Michaels' doctor, Owen Hart.
For the tag team champs, this was a pretty forgettable match, and I'm going to chalk that up to Crush. He stays in the ring most of this match for whatever fucking reason. You know, thankfully, we're saved by a Bret Hart split screen. He gives his thoughts on Shawn Michaels. And that line about Vader being like a cement truck, I loved it. I paused it, rewound it, and listened to it again. And then when the focus cut back to the action in the ring, I applied that to Crush. I took that comparison, and I thought Crush is like wrestling a sewage tank pump truck.
Oh, the Honey Dipper.
Make that Crush's nickname, Honey Dipper.
Jeez. Jailbird, Honey Dipper.
And then he had the leg scissor, which, I don't know, I guess it turned Vince McMahon on. He had to talk about it. And then to further Crush's uselessness, at the end, he's perfectly fine. And he just allows Owen to take the count out and not win the belts. Why didn't Crush go out there and bring Owen in and try and pin him? So maybe they could win the tag team belts.
Yeah.
One of the worst tag team matches I've seen the Bulldog and Owen in quite a while.
You know, on the outside, his nickname is Jailbird, but on the inside, Crush's nickname was the Honey Dipper. That match was over, and good riddance. It flowed straight through into our final match of the night. Bret Hart defeated Vader with Paul Bearer by pinfall in 4 minutes and 44 seconds. We cut to commercial and missed all of Vader's entrance. All of it. Yeah, I just did one step closer to the treatment here. Vince also called a young girl a young man, which I thought was hilarious. But then the Undertaker's music hit, and I was immediately confused. The Undertaker came out there to complain about a lack of respect.
Rodney Dangerfield speech there.
Hey!
Doc Hendricks was standing there next to him with no real purpose. I guess he was delivering the mic to the Undertaker. And ultimately, this was just Taker putting over the pay-per-view, but it felt really forced and really out of character for him, which has been happening a lot lately. That led to the match getting started with Vader attacking Bret from behind, then Austin out of nowhere attacking Bret as we went into a commercial break. That was the Western Union rewind to about an hour ago when Rocky Maivia won the Intercontinental title. And that's where it kind of fell apart for me. It didn't feel like the story ever really got started in the ring. It just kind of began in the middle. Vader continued to look slow here, or maybe that was just in contrast to Bret, I don't know, but Vader is being Vader here. The distractions continued as Austin ended up showing up in the balcony. Apparently attacking Bret earlier just wasn't enough. He had to do some jawing from up there. Vader took forever to set up the Vader bomb. So long, in fact, that Bret was able to easily roll out of the way and take advantage of Vader's missed attack, pinning Vader for the victory. Stone Cold tries to climb out over the balcony to come after Bret Hart. There was a good 20-foot drop there. I don't think that would have worked. While Vader quietly slinks away up the entryway like the jobber he was in this match, and we fade to black. Ryan, you've had some strong statements about Bret Hart versus Vader in the past, and in this match, Vader, who, keep in mind, is a championship contender at the pay-per-view this coming weekend, got the full jobber treatment. What did you think of it?
You know, I didn't hate it as bad because Vader was getting the jobber treatment here, even though he shouldn't be going into a pay-per-view. But this wasn't the worst match we've seen Vader in. Bret Hart, like Stone Cold last week, is a good enough wrestler. He can make things with Vader look serviceable at times, but no build up again. This has kind of been the theme of the night.
Yeah.
It feels like one big glorified house match. Nothing here really seems to matter much in the grand scheme of things. They're just matches with people who have a little bit of star power thrown together to take on each other. And this one's met with a bunch of interruptions. The one at the very end with Stone Cold, maybe the best of them. I thought he did the best job of setting up the pay-per-view, especially with him trying to come over the crowd barrier at the end. I thought that looked pretty good. My favorite part of the match, though, was when Stone Cold was up in the balcony trying to distract Bret. It wasn't enough. Vader still misses his finisher, and Bret Hart pulls out the victory. But when Vader misses the Vader bomb, they briefly cut the camera to Stone Cold, and you could see him mouth, "You suck," about missing the Vader bomb. And I fucking popped.
Yeah, that was good.
I popped over that. That was my best part. So I don't have a ton to rant and rave about Vader and Bret Hart's treatment. Vader is a big star, so putting up against him, it somewhat makes sense. I just, like everything else, they didn't really build up to this one like they should have.
Yeah, going back to the beginning, we start out with that odd, forced promo that The Undertaker is giving us, which, yeah, I mean, it doesn't come off very good because whatever they're doing with The Undertaker in this Final Four thing, like you said, it just seems forced and awkward. But again, the focus has to be on the Final Four, so I guess that was kind of a go-home speech for The Undertaker before our pay-per-view. So I guess that had to happen. But the match here was not great because Vader is in it. But it's, like you said, Ryan, it's serviceable with Bret Hart kind of guiding him through it. For me, the best part of it was Austin roaming around within the crowd up in the balcony. It got a little ridiculous when they started acting like he was going to like jump off the balcony. But before that, it kind of gave me some ECW vibes,
Yeah.
Especially in this type of a room. You know,
Yeah.
This venue was a smaller like ballroom type of place. So it looked good on TV. And thank goodness Bret Hart won this time because I'm not sure that I could mentally handle another Vader win.
I might have lost my
over
voice.
Bret Hart.
Might have lost my voice.
Yeah.
Lost my smile on the podcast here.
Yeah.
Guys, I can't do another Bret Hart loss to Vader. I'm just gonna go home.
My knee can't take it.
I'm going to go home for 4 weeks.
Well, as I said, we faded to black, so let's take it on over now to highlights and lowlights. Joe, please, why don't you go first?
Well, my highlight is the way that we started the show, Rocky Maivia winning the Intercontinental title. I think that it was pretty rare these days to see a title change on Raw, and so I thought that was pretty exciting. My low light is just the whole Shawn Michaels losing his smile. It just comes off as total bullshit. Either you're actually injured or you just lost your smile. I'm very confused, and it's even though it's a very polarizing moment in wrestling, it is a low light for me.
My highlight, I did enjoy the Rocky match, but I'm going to go with the debut of the Headbangers, mostly because of the nostalgia. You know, I didn't think they did anything too spectacular, but I am at least a little bit excited to see another real tag team in this depleted WWF tag team division.
Yeah.
Low light is, I mean, I have a legitimate question. Was this a go-home show? Because it really didn't feel like it. I mean, they were way more interested in defending the region Shawn Michaels giving up the belt than they were at all of putting over this upcoming pay-per-view. So I thought the pay-per-view itself really took a hit to the focus that was given to Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. My lowlights, Farouk and Crush versus Owen and Bulldog. It did not interest me at all. That was dead air as far as I was concerned. And that was especially compared to the rest of the card. Not that it was all amazing, but compared to my highlight, which was Rocky and Hunter, you know, zero interest there. But Rocky and Hunter, great match all around. Not just the surprise of Rocky winning the Intercontinental title, but just the ring work, the storytelling in the ring. It was a fantastic match to watch. So that's what I'm going with there. Joseph, do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around February 13th, 1997 for us?
I do, even though this was a little bit of an odd week here, being on a Thursday. But we've had our taints tickled enough, guys. And these past couple weeks with 2-hour Raws, it is official that Raw is going to be a live 2-hour show starting next week on February 17th. Some shows will still be taped when the company goes overseas and things like that, but the majority of shows will be live in 2 hours. So that's pretty exciting news. That's a pretty big moment in WWF history. Rumors are starting to form, according to Dave Meltzer, that the Road Warriors are going to be making a return to the WWF. So that's pretty exciting. We know the tag team division could use a little spark. Maybe they can provide that. As far as the Shawn Michaels news, word is that Shawn told WWF officials at 6 p.m. the night before that he would be taking time off. Oof. So this really hit them out of nowhere.
Consummate champion.
Yeah. Whether you want to believe that that's when Vince found out, or maybe they kind of worked this up together before, who knows? But the WWF decided to use that injury angle instead of having someone attack him in fear of causing further damage to the knee. So, Brian Pillman has his ankle shattered, so let's have someone attack him. But, like Shawn said, I feel like we've done this before recently, and I guess they did do that with Owen Hart causing all that brain damage, so I guess it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That's all we got for this week.
Well, thank you, Joseph, illuminating as always. And that's it, folks. Thursday, Raw Thursday is over.
What day of the week?
Tuesday, Raw Tuesday.
Thank you.
I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know how much cooler they would be if they became Rawheads like you and me. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at In Your House 13, the Final Four, with matches featuring Bart Gunn, Mark Marrow, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.